What up, buddy? How are you? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in like forever. Yeah, it was that day that we did a little meeting. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Let
man.
me
I think
just
that was
move
like,
it
yeah,
here.
that's right.
How the hell does this work? There you go. I'm sure you hear that noise a lot.
Yeah.
Can't feel it, can't feel it. Looks like another rainy day. Try to stay sober so you'll stay. Then get fucked up so I feel sane. But I manage, yeah, I manage. I don't get panicked anymore.
So how you
Good
doing?
times. I'm good. How are you?
Oh man, as good as I can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the how's so what I get where's your studio? Is your
Oh
studio in your home?
no. So I have there's like a warehouse kind of building a few miles from my house. So the studio's in Anaheim Hills, and so I have this space and got this room, and it's great for now. Till yeah, it's really working out for now. That's for sure.
Y- For now as opposed to you're planning on moving
Yeah,
or
I think long term it'd be better to have a studio like in Newport Beach or something. So that's kind of I think my goal, Newport Beach or Costa Mesa. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but
yeah.
um, just I think it's better long term. You know.
Did you are you move the house down there too, or do you don't want to have one in your basically in your home? Is what you're saying?
Man, I've had both. I'm sure you have too, right? You know what
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
I've had.
working from home and then working from a studio somewhere else. There's like two really great benefits to both. Like one is you can just work whenever you want if it's home, but it's hard to separate your work from, you know, I don't know, from being at home though, you know. So
I had
at the time it's nice, being outside of the house.
the last two homes that I had. You actually had to physically walk outside. It wasn't
Okay.
attached. I mean, it was attached to the house, but had to. You had to physically walk outside
Yeah.
to get into the studio. So it was kind of like I was leaving for work, but I was still, in my UGG flip flops and my pajama bottoms. And yeah, no, it's definitely.
Yeah. I know it's like actually my last studio at our house there, our last house we owned, my studio, I did have to go outside and that was nice. So I think is the most ideal if you're going to be home, is to actually have to walk outside because otherwise if it's just a room in your house, it's, I don't know, hard to separate it. But yeah, maybe you should always take a shower before you go to work too, like that always woke me up. If
Yeah.
I just like got breakfast, coffee, and straight in my PJs to work, it was hard to separate that.
Yeah, I
So
think the best would be that, guest house kind of situation that's turned in that's maybe across the yard, where
yeah,
you can get up in the morning, shower, and go over there. And still, I mean, you have two kids, so it's actually, I guess it's probably a positive and a negative because sometimes they, obviously want to hang out consistently. So how's that working out now?
with the
They're all
quarantine,
stuck. Yeah, they're all stuck in the house.
yeah, they're stuck in the house. We have no daycare. My daughter is in preschool, so school shut down, and it's been a big adjustment, that's for sure. I think a good one in ways, but because my wife also works like essentially full time, we had to be very non-artists and create a schedule. um, like literally, we had to sit there and be like, "All right, we're going crazy because none of us are being productive, and our kids are going nuts." And now we have another 30 days of this, so we are kind of doing split shifts. So I'll be working the mornings into the afternoon a little bit, and then she'll work in the afternoons. I'm more productive in the mornings, if I'm
Oh,
honest. You know,
oh, really? You're
uh,
not
I,
a
I
night person?
I used to be. I used to be a night person, and over the last maybe like 5 years, I've become more of a morning productive person. It's like I can still charge it all night, but as far as being creative and actually getting like really focused work done, like it's easier for me to do it in the morning. Cup of coffee, just get to it.
So your schedule is what? Getting up at 7 a.m.
Yeah,
or 8
yeah. But I
a.m.?
mean, it's still loose, you know. It's
Yeah.
like if we stayed up late watching Netflix or The Tiger King or something like that, you know. um, you know, I'll sleep in a little bit, but then the kids will usually wake me up around 7 regardless. So, but what about you, man? Like, what have you been doing? What's your
Um,
schedule like right
uh,
now?
it's
You're like, no.
basically, I have no schedule. I basically started this podcast situation because, obviously, I know, not obviously, but I do know a ton of people connected in multiple ways in every industry, actors and musicians and composers and all that. And I just wanted to get creative. I have 3 TV shows that I'm working on right now.
Are
And
they in production or are they like in pre
now
or
they're
okay?
in hiatus right now.
Okay. No, what I meant was like, did any of them have to stop,
No,
or were you still in pre-pro, like working it
yeah,
out? Okay.
we're in development with it, with 2 of them. So yeah, uh, I can't really give out that much information on. Obviously, you and I can speak later, but for the most part, they're all in different parts of development.
Okay.
So, one of them has directors and actors, and we just signed on with a production company. So we're on that one. Will be the next one to go, and
Right.
then I have one of my other ones. I'm working with the NHL on. I don't know if I mentioned to you about that a while ago, but
I think you did briefly. Yeah.
and that one kind of turned into the NHL is, takes their time. And I could not move forward with the show without them. So
Mm.
a little after the first of the year, maybe February-ish, I think, they finally got back to me and approved it. So now we're
Oh,
moving
good.
forward. And then everything went to a, screeching halt, basically on the,
Basically.
yeah.
That's
So,
crazy. And you
so I
have
was,
3. Okay.
yeah. And then I have so I have 2 scripted and 1 reality. And then I'm working on, and I think we talked about this, but I really want to do that Greatest Showman style movie. Like I'm
That's right.
dying to do that, especially with
Wow.
the people that I have with me. It's so funny that the hardest part of this is that I cannot find a script. As weird as that sounds.
That's right. I remember you were saying that you're like, I just need it. Like, that's
I,
it. I'll
I,
make whatever happen to get it,
yeah,
but you
just give
just
me an
can't find it.
idea. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? Give me a rough template or a rough, basically an idea of anything. Like it can be in anything, and then I can kind of work for it. And I have a lot of people who are on Broadway, and none of them are really can have that access to it too. So I have no idea. So I'm
Right.
trying to do that right now. I'm trying to, since people are sitting home bored out of their minds, I'm trying to reach out and see if anyone, because I don't know about you, but I'm getting a lot more emails and texts back these days than I used to, which is great. So I've been basically reaching out to people and getting some replies. So that's kind of what I'm going to try to work on that. And I know I had a meeting, conference call yesterday about one of my TV shows. So things are moving.
That's
So
good.
that's obviously a positive. What's going on with you? So this is really not any different than normal, right? I mean, I'm assuming that most of these productions have backlog of of stuff in in a hard drive somewhere where they're going to just like, we've never released this, let's release this now. So is that becoming something that's hindering you, helping you, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm very grateful that because I'm in post, right? So it's productions are wrapped months ago, and so I'm kind of still wrapping that up. So my schedule is essentially the same, but I anticipate some sort of lull. Like once everyone gets back to work, that's when I might hit a little lull. But as you know, like we're kind of used to that. We're kind of used to lulls, here and there. So as like filmmakers, freelancers, whatever. So I'm not too worried about that. I was really like right now I'm wrapping something probably by the middle of the month. I got like another short film that someone sent over. I wasn't really open to doing them, but now I am, because it's like, hey, well, let's get creative. And also the beauty of a short film is just full creative freedom, because there's no one involved. So I've kind of said yeah to one of those. Normally I wouldn't, but I think that's kind of like, I'm kind of shifting gears towards being just more open to those types of projects at the moment. I think everyone is, right? Like just being creative, and
Yep.
you know, it's almost like all the money machine has stopped. So then it's just like all these artists just like, well, let's just create for no reason now, all of a sudden, you know? So I'm hoping to kind of maybe tap into a little bit of that in like a couple weeks. But one thing that's actually kind of fortunate, over the last like year, I've been asked so much for people like, hey, I can't hire you to score this, but I would love to license your music. Like I just don't have a budget for a composer. And so I was sending Dropbox links and, you know, stuff like that, you know, Venmo requests for licensing, you know, quick little agreements. But then, you know, the idea kind of came like, man, what if I just create my own library? Like I've never signed with like a music bed. I never want to do anything like that or sign with an exclusive library. I don't know. It just never was me. I never felt like it would be a good fit. But in January, I started, basically I hired a web developer, and I've basically like almost done with a music library. It's fully functional, browsable. You can create playlists, you can list all my music, you can license and pay for that license straight through the site.
Through
So
what site are you using?
I'm creating it from scratch, like literally from scratch. So the web developer I worked with was a kind of the perfect guy to work with. He's a filmmaker, a musician, and a web developer. So he kind of understood all three of, you know, he understood being basically a client or someone who would purchase licensed music, someone who would also create the music, and then a web developer. So it was kind of amazing. He was able to create it from scratch. I'll send you a link to where it's at. It's not complete yet, but anyway, so that's actually kind of perfect timing as well for me, because now I can kind of shift to that and just finish that up, you know, as well during this time, and have that basically ready to launch, I would imagine, by the end of the month, you know.
So how would I go about going to that? Like I would go to a website?
Yeah. So just like as you go to like Music Bed or whatever, you'll go to, on mine, it's going to be library.juliancisneros.com, because I'm kind of offshooting it from my regular website. But it'll be like, I'm going to go for it all the way and like do SEO, and freaking, if someone happens to go to some library site, like they'll be targeted essentially, you know, and make it legit, you know. Why not? I mean, I'm only launching with like maybe 75 songs, but I now have an outlet during these times to just populate, you know. And if I have a week in between gigs, just crank it out. And, you know, it's kind of getting my wheels turning more as like an entrepreneur, how I can utilize that. And just kind of diversify income, you know. So that's kind of what I got going on.
There's a lot of content right now. Obviously, people are sitting home in their, sitting home just with their cameras or their phones. So I was just talking to a musician recently that I was explaining you should be making that library, because there are those little, you may even be able to sell it to be like, you don't want to do independent films, but like you said, here's a 3-minute source piece or score piece. Why don't you just and this is how much it is, non-exclusive or you know, however you want to do it, and see if you can make that extra couple of dollars. I think that's an amazing idea, actually. I think that's pretty brilliant, actually.
It just came out of like, honestly, being like, I'm sick of it felt like a little unprofessional too, like just sending Dropbox links and Venmo requests or PayPal, whatever, you know, like. But enough people were really like genuinely like, I like your music, but I just don't, you know, because there's so many different ranges of budgets, you know. And it's like, man, I'm always just missing out on the productions where, where it's just lower budget, or people are just sourcing stuff, and so I think I'm created something to kind of bridge that gap, and I have full control over it, and I get all the, basically I don't have to share any of the funding, aside from my initial investment into creating that platform. But yeah, I think there's a lot of content, dude. Like right now, I feel like there's going to be so much content coming out. Like if there ever was a time to get into the biz, it's almost like right now there's so much need, and after this, it's like going to be an explosion of like a month of, I think, music and movies or scripts. A friend of mine just sent me a script that he just wrote last week because he's so bored. He's writing another script this week, because so it's just like a good time, to be in this.
I think the music business could potentially help at this point. Like you said, I think that people are making content, but there are, unfortunately, the people, YouTubers that don't have access to music. So you could potentially get some, traction off of that, and then you're just adding. I used to say to you, "Hey, don't send me your Grammy stuff. Send me the stuff that you don't care about." And this is that time that there are people out there that are probably going, "Hey, I can't afford, a couple $100,000 for this. Can I buy a couple of songs for $10 or $15 or $20, whatever it is, $50?" So it's that time that you could. I tell people, go through your hard drive and find something that you did 20 years ago and just just mix it up a little bit, maybe fix a couple of things and put it out there. It's who cares, I'll use it for that scene when me and that other character are in a car and we just need something on the radio in the background, or we're walking down the beach, or, that's kind of, I think it's a really good time for that to happen. And being able to reach out to these people is obviously a plus.
Right.
And so you'll actually have your website up, and you'll be able to go to your website, and then you'll have a link, like you said, library, and then there'll be a bunch of SoundCloud-esque kind of things where you can play.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're on your computer right now, or if you could even you could look at it right now if you have another screen next to you. But yeah, it's just that. It's you click on the library tab and it takes you to a different URL, just because I use just Squarespace for my regular, portfolio kind of thing. But then it's just a bunch of songs. I have three big images at the front. It's like new releases, featured, and whatever. So you can even click on that and just go to those collections. But it's fully functional in the regards that you can browse by BPM, you can browse by length of song you're looking for, you can browse by mood, genre, characteristics, and then it only lets you listen to 30 seconds, and then you have to create an account. But the reason is so that you can favorite stuff, and you can create custom playlists per project. So if you're working on a project, say you're a MD or something like that, or a music supervisor or whatever, you can go create a playlist, send it to production, and then they can listen through it and choose which song they want. And you can literally just license it straight through there. So then you just go to the cart, add the cart. I have to work on my licensing agreement. There's actually kind of a lot of crazy legal things, even privacy notices and terms and conditions, whatever, at the bottom of every website. It's literally to save your butt, legally, because people can just come in and, I don't know, destroy you. So, I'm finishing up that too,
I have a couple of those that I could probably send you to that you can look at.
Oh, cool.
Non-exclusive, exclusive thing. Just, the lawyer jargon that you could probably look at and, take pieces from it. I mean, obviously the perfect way to do it would be get a lawyer, but you don't need to spend money if you don't have to at this time. Okay. So I think that's a great idea. I mean, it's one of those things where people are sitting around going, what can I do right now to make money?
Right.
And it's just so, especially with people with jobs. Now, your wife is she's a hairstylist, correct? That's what her
She is.
profession is. Is she even cutting hair? Is she having people? How is that working out?
So she's just cutting doll heads. You know, they have
Okay.
these like doll heads with real hair, and so she's doing that. Been doing that. She's signed with a pretty big global brand, so she's been doing like online education through their social media and stuff like that. Everyone's just trying to like create a presence and maintain culture, right? So the hairstyling world is, and in a lot of ways I'm really jealous of it. I don't think the film world is anywhere close to that. I think it's way too competitive in the film world, you know, for everyone just to be like so together in the way that the hairstyling world is. They're every single brand, every single, you know, they're all just giving away free education, and they're all just trying to encourage everybody, super inclusive to that regard. So she's kind of in that mix at the moment. I mean, she's like cutting, like she like told me she wants to bleach my hair, and I'm like, I don't know. I think that's just because she's so bored. She's like, I need to do something. So I might have blonde hair in like a week. We'll see. See how bored I get.
What about cutting it? No, you're never gonna
Yeah,
cut it, huh?
nah, I don't know. No, not my hair. Keep that thing growing. But but yeah. So, but she's not. She can't cut any hair, man. Like she can't go anywhere. Like she did a house call like maybe a week ago in Hollywood for someone, and she like as they left, they're kind of like, I think this is the last time we'll ever see anyone for a while. And then sure enough, you know, they extended the quarantine to like, you know, another month. So now it's, I think at this point, everybody's like, I don't like, we shouldn't be in the room with anyone else at the moment, you know, unless they're family or living with them or whatever, or significant others. But so she's like, yeah, she's in lockdown, man. No work
So she's
at all.
doing like social media.
She's just
kind
doing
of
influencer type
tutorials.
stuff. Yeah, just influencer type stuff. She's, you know, doing tutorials right now, but she's like doing it on people's like Instagram accounts, like Instagram Live. I think she's got an Instagram Live today, this afternoon, you know, and so she hosts that kind of thing, and so a bunch of people tune in, and she'll, you know, just, I don't know, probably do some hair or be encouraging. But
Yeah, I don't know. I went on YouTube to try to cut my hair, and it's not working out. So I don't know how those tutorials work. I mean, it's good for teaching people, but not teaching myself. So yeah, I'm just letting my hair grow out at this point. I don't even care.
That's funny, dude.
So you pack up there usually at what time, and then you go home and spend time with the wife and kids. Are you guys watching TV? Where are you guys with your TV?
Man,
aside from Tiger King.
I'm already over like TV. Well, I say that, but I mean, I try to just watch like a little bit. Like it took me 2 days to watch Dunkirk, you know? So the last couple of days I just was like, I don't know, man. Like I'm starting to feel like I should do something different at night. Like, you know, I don't know, actually read a book or something. It's like, there's only so much TV you can watch. I'm sitting there like on the couch, and I'm just like, this TV is nothing. Like I'm bored, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I get home and, you know, I play with the kids, go outside, go for a walk and stuff like that. And like I said, I think quality time is kind of a beautiful thing that's kind of come out of this, and almost like that healthy reset where you get so caught up in life that you don't get a second to kind of take a step back and be like, oh, like, you know, how can I be more intentional in this or that? So I'm trying to be way more intentional with just more quality time with the kids, actually going outside playing, like teaching my kid how to ride a bike right now. Like she's 5, and that's kind of a trip. You're like, oh, you're old enough now to have to teach you how to ride a bike. You know, kick the ball around, that kind of stuff. Started skateboarding again. just because I'm so bored or outside with the kids, just like start skating. You know. But what about you? What are you watching? Are you watching any shows? Did you watch that Tiger King show? I didn't even finish it, actually. I haven't even finished it because it's so ridiculous. It's hard to be entertained by it.
Yeah, no, I haven't started it. I'm watching a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube regardless, but podcasts, and everyone's talking about it. So I will watch it at some point. There's just other things that I kind of wanted to catch up got caught up on for
Right.
TV and movies. But yeah, no, there's nothing really aside from some comedians put out some comedy specials.
Yeah.
That's it. And then, Disney, I gotta do my Disney TV consistently and watch. I was actually having a conversation with somebody the other day about the Disney music. I said to them, I was watching Frozen 2, and they started laughing at me. And I'm like, I get it. It's a cartoon. It's for kids. But that for Frozen, there was that Let It Go. That was like their anchor song, I felt,
Right.
Obviously. And then with Frozen 2, that there was some anchor songs, but I felt like Into the Unknown was like a side song. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was a song that wasn't like their marquee song kind of thing. And just listening to that on a really nice system or in headphones, it's phenomenal.
Wow.
And it's just, the music is just so good. And then, because we've gone to Disneyland, whoever mixes their stuff is just the most, because we were walking through from DCA over to Magic Kingdom, and there was music playing. And I swear to God, we thought it was a live band. The music that was playing was just so phenomenal. Like,
It's so
that's
good,
the one
man.
thing. And the bad part about them is they don't pay, unfortunately.
They
So
don't
I
pay at all. I did like one thing for Disney, and it was the worst, and it's like the lowest pay ever.
Yeah, and it's a buyout too. It's you don't get any. You get like I don't know what your deal is, but from when I used to deal with them, it was like, here's a huge amount of money. Thank you very much, and you'll never see another dime ever again. There's no back, and I don't know if they've changed that now and paid less. But yeah, it was like a really big lump sum of money, and then they were like, thank you very much, and they'll use it as much as they want. Because even Christina Perri did not World of Color now, but the one before, her voice was in that, and they paid her a good amount of money, and then that was it. I mean, they play that song consistently, for years.
I know.
And so but so that's why I like watching Disney movies, especially the newer ones, and that is more about the animation is getting good. But the music is always just so great. I guess I can't get enough of it.
Oh, dude, I'm right there with you. I mean, I enjoy watching. I get to watch these all the time, and I've seen Frozen 2 now, even just like 100 times. Into the Unknown, I think was I realized that was the song. Like, as I was watching the movie in theaters, I wasn't able to pick out what their song is going to be. Like, I got to the end of the movie and I was like, oh, there's that like that Kristoff song, like where it's like the 80s kind of rock song.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, maybe that's the only thing that stuck out to me. But then it was like, as the weeks went on and my daughter's singing Into the Unknown, I'm like, that's the song. That's the song that's going to stick, but it wasn't apparent like it was with Let It Go, like you were saying.
Yeah. It wasn't that whole, like, every time a commercial came, it was, Let It Go. And I just felt like that was their big, I feel, and I might have heard this or read this somewhere, but they might have even wrote the song around, or the movie around that, or I don't know.
I know.
The music thing is that's one of the things. Obviously, in going to Disneyland consistently with the circle of people that I go to, the exercise is a huge thing, and now I don't get that anymore. And
I know, that's so true.
The exercise thing is the thing that's killing me the most, because even I'm close to Universal, so I would walk to Universal. I have a pass for them, which is, and I never, they don't really have that many good rides over there, but they have, if you've been to Universal, there's an upper lot and a lower lot, and then all those stairs that go down.
That's
and,
right.
we'd get up and go down, walk over to Universal and walk all those steps. There's like 350 steps from the bottom of the lot, and we would just walk them, and that was our exercise. And I could do that 3 times a week and stay happy, and then maybe jump on Harry Potter or whatever. But when we go to Disneyland, there's just you get so many steps, and it's so much exercise, and it's fresh air, and it's just it's not about riding Indiana Jones or, or Guardians or any of that. It's really about just being out there and exercising and having a good time. To me, it's a good time.
No, for
But
sure. It's to me, it's the same. If you look at my steps on the Apple, like on my phone, like you ever look at like the health app and how many
yeah,
steps
yeah.
you took that
Well,
day?
I have the watch.
Okay,
I have
so
the
yeah,
iWatch
so
app.
mine will be like, I think they want you to have like 10,000 steps a day, right? And I probably hover around like 3 to 5,000. But then if it's I could always tell the day that I went to Disneyland because it's like 14,000 steps, 15,000 steps, and you walked like miles. And that was always something in my brain that kept like because we'd go like once a week, just for like a couple hours, but usually at the end of the day, 6 to 9 o'clock, just park at downtown Disney, just do the 3 hour thing, go pick up a bite to eat on the way out, free parking essentially. Essentially, they're still getting their money one way or the other. But yeah, it was always nice to know like I can exercise, and that was my exercise for the week. Now I have to be intentional and walk around my neighborhood. But
And that's the other thing too with because I have the watch, right now it's not, but it's usually on me. When you're at the studio, you're actually doing steps, but your phone is not on you. It's sitting next to something. So you're not getting credit for those steps. So you have to be aware of that.
They are very minimal steps.
Yeah.
It's like me walking over to my synth and to the other side of the room or to my piano. And in a lot of ways, I've set up my studio to where I can kind of just slide my chair around, so I can just like slide over there. And but
a lot of rolling.
I think as I'm getting older, I actually have to be really intentional about standing up. I have an app that says, stand up every 30 minutes. I have it set. And it dings. It's like stand up, just move around, do some squats. Just because, man, like I kind of got to the point a couple years ago where I got in like real bad health shape. Like I wasn't like necessarily super overweight, but like my body was not moving ever. It was like my shoulders were starting to get really sore because I was never using them. So now I have to actually be intentional about exercising and taking care of my body. Pretty wild.
The one thing that I got you haven't been to my studio, but the one thing that I had got not too long ago was that Veridesk. Have you ever seen that? That
Is
pops
that the
up?
one that, yeah. So you can stand?
Yeah, so I got that, and my setup, I have, I don't even know what they're called, like it's a control surface mixing board. Avid puts them out. So I have those on there, and then I have the keyboard, and then the monitors, and then Veridesk, they're not a sponsor, they should be, but they also have a chair that goes up and down too. So it can be like you can lean on it if you need to. But yeah, now the Veridesk is fully extended at all times. Like I don't even sit down anymore. If I'm sitting there, I'm editing for a while or I'm doing something like that, then I will. But for the most part, it's always up. So, and it keeps me, and if, especially, with the stuff that you have, if you're doing a lot of walking back and forth to your synths and stuff, it might be great to just get rid of the chair altogether at that point until you're actually sitting down to edit. But I saw you're very creative because you did some, I call it an amp rack, but you called it something else. You made that table, that end table.
Oh yeah. It's like I actually have it right here. It's just like a little, it's a little rack, little 4U rack. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And you just put these little shelves in there, so it's and this isn't the one, but I have another one that I built that I put some like hairpin legs on it, so it's like a cool little side table,
Yeah, I saw the legs one, and then I saw that you built them. So you're building those. That's just plywood. You're just building them by yourself,
Yeah, I built most everything in my studio. So even my acoustic panels, I built those. Right here, you can see this panel I actually framed it. My desk, all my racks I build. I think I just do it out of like I enjoy woodworking. I think like it's a hobby of mine. So it's fun to just do a little bit of it when I need it and save some money. But there is one guy, and I'm going to shout him out, Monkwood. His name is Brandon Munoz. He makes the most incredible studio desks ever. And my goal is to have him build me the like most bitchin' studio ever. Just that's the one in Newport Beach, you know. When I go there and get a studio there, man.
I built mine. How do you build your whatever these things are called?
Panels,
Yeah.
acoustic panels.
Yeah.
I just I use plywood and I cut the plywood down to 3-inch lengths. So just, you know, big old sheet of it, 4x8 plywood. I use the pine, and then I use like a circular saw and I rip it into 3-inch pieces. So then I just kind of create a frame, and I buy it's called like Owens Corning 703. So I bought that. That's the actual foam, acoustic foam. Put that in there, and then I just wrapped it with like some duck cloth, which is basically canvas.
I made them for my last studio. I made them myself, and I just used. They ended up these ones are really heavy because this is like
Okay.
not 3/4. Yeah, 3/4
Like
inch
solid
plywood,
wood.
and then there's just a like the stuff that you put on your bed. What's that, egg crate or whatever underneath
Oh
it?
yeah,
and then
yeah.
And then I just took material, and then these are just like little, I don't even know, like little rivets just to be, you know, make them look pretty. But I had made some with 2x4s.
Oh,
So I made
wow.
the 2x4 frame.
That's
like,
heavy though.
it was very heavy, but inside it there was I used to sing the song all the time. Now I forget. There was a insulation that I got. Safe. It was Safe and Sound. It was called Safe and Sound. It's
Oh,
really,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
it's supposed to be
Rockwool
like
makes it or something.
yeah, it's like a jean or something,
Yep.
like
It's
a jean
like
material.
it's all ground up jeans, right?
Yeah. So I just
Yeah, I
bought
know
a
that.
big roll of that, had it delivered to the house, and then just cut the pieces and put them inside the 2x4 frame. And then
Right.
I think at the time I might have went down to downtown to the fashion district, and they have those
Okay.
rolls of material. And if you get crappy one, you know, if you don't get really nice velour and you get like some old school random color, you can buy a roll of it pretty cheap. So, and then I
Oh,
just
that's
did that
cool.
and then stapled them. So yeah, they were very
Yeah.
heavy. I'm not moving them. You know what I mean? Once they're
Right.
up on the wall, like who cares? But yeah, they were definitely, when I took them down from the studio, they were definitely very heavy.
Yeah. I just went to like Joann's to get my cloth, you know?
Yeah.
And I got like whatever was on sale, and I just wanted white so it kind of looked good in here. But I think it's cool to make your own, you know? They're like, if you buy them and you don't make your own and you want good quality, it's pretty expensive, you know? But granted, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, one of my studios 5 studios ago, I got a big, is it K Audio? The big desks.
Okay.
I think it's K Audio. I have to look it up. But so the problem with those big, huge desks is the same thing. It's like they're very big, and there's a lot of amp rack space, but you have to fill it or it looks stupid.
So it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's so expensive. So it's like, so then you're like putting in equipment that really doesn't do anything, that looks pretty, but it's an amp, you know, it's amp rack mounted kind of a situation. Or a thing that I have that actually we could talk about is I have a crate filled of spacer things, like they're 2 space, 4 space. It's just a blank space.
Oh, blank. Yeah. I have those. Yeah. I totally.
And then I have grates, and I have like a bunch of that, just like all sitting, because you get to the point where you're like, and I have a bunch of Furmans too for no reason. Like I don't know.
Hey, that's a pretty way to fill it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the lights on them.
Oh yeah. I have some dead hard drives that are in my rack. They just look cool, but they're dead. They're like those old Glyph ones that died on me. That's a lesson, and always back your stuff up into more than one place.
With 800 FireWire and 400
It is.
FireWire.
It's literally the 400 FireWire. I don't even have adapters for it anymore. I don't think you can even. But that's funny. So I know we've talked about this before, but you have, you know, always been involved with music. You've always recorded. Seems like you have people come over, record albums and at your house, because you've had these beautiful home studios. I know you've mentioned like some pretty big artists have come through. Are you still like doing that, or are you kind of is it kind of just you just got the gear now and whoever wants to, but
There are still people that I have a circle of friends, my circle of friends that come over consistently. They'll come over, hey, can I come over and do a vocal, or can I come over and do this? So the studio is kind of set up for that. It was always that way. Back at like 2 houses ago, it was one of those things where I would get a call at midnight and be like, hey, can we come by and use the studio for a little while? I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. That's kind of what it started. I started it because of a friend of mine. He wanted to start recording, and I wanted to learn how to start recording. So we just bought the might have been 02 or 03, I don't know. I'm old, so it was probably 02 or 03. We bought that, and we started recording. Actually, we did Ryan Key, lead singer Yellow Card. We did their return album. When you're through saying yes, when you're through thinking, say yes. That album we did on a Digio 2, actually.
Wow.
Or Digio 3. So we did that, and as people were coming in, they would be like, hey man, here's $100, here's $200, or can we use it for a couple hours? Here's a couple $100. And I would take that that money, and just because that wasn't how I was making my living, I would buy more equipment with it. Right. So, I have a full-on 20 by 20 storage locker right now, still filled to this day with microphone stands and microphones, and I'm a drummer, so I think I've downgraded a little bit, but I think I still have 8 full-on drum kits. Then I have full-on cymbal stands and cymbals, and yeah, it's a full-on kind of mess. But I've transitioned this studio into that part of people being like, hey, I need to come over and drop a vocal, to, hey, can I come over, do a voiceover session? What I mean? Or I need to do something for someone. They need me to, a voiceover for a cartoon or for a commercial. They'll come over and do that stuff. And then it's kind of just like everyone knows that if they need a space that they can come here. It's kind of how it's set up. And it's not a big room. It's probably, again, 15 by 15-ish. It's enough room for me to have a full-on, with the podcast, I have a full-on, 6-foot table here. And I still have enough room I have an ISO booth, like rack, that's closed and has air circulating through it.
Oh, cool.
And then I just have the Veridesk, which just has my little mixing board, keyboard, and 2 monitors. And then I have my Mackies on stands, kind of like, those are stands that you have your speakers, yeah? The white ones are on stands, or?
The white ones are on stands, and then the black ones aren't. Yeah, they're both on stands.
Oh, yeah. So I same setup, and then and that's it. I really didn't. It's tough for me to get rid of stuff. I have the HD system for Pro Tools, and I have 32 analog ins, which I will never ever use. I mean, even now I have 2 API 512s. I have 2 API 312s. I have old school Neve 1272s.
No way.
So I have a bunch of like really good mic
outboard
pre's.
Gear. Yeah.
But I'm using them for this. You know what I mean? At this point. But people do come over here, and I have some good compressors and like I said, output gear. So
yeah,
it's really just for that at this point. I'm just too afraid. I don't want to sell it. It's not. It's kind of like.
I mean, that stuff's priceless, really.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever go. It's kind of like my guitars. I don't play guitar, but I have a bunch of them. Like they're all hanging on the walls, and but everyone's like, if you ever need money, you can. I'll go and work at McDonald's before I will sell any of my drums or any of my guitars or any of my equipment. It's just kind of the way I am for some reason. I don't know.
No, that's I love that. I feel the same way. I haven't sold any of my gear. It's hard for me to sell any gear. I mean, if I do, it's just something really cheap that I know I can just easily get again. But I have all my guitars. I have all my first synths, and even though they're small and I never really touch them anymore, it's like I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, no.
you know?
And I have like a full-on road case filled of mic stands and XLRs and stuff. So if people call me for that, and hey, can I, do you have an extra boom or I'm those ones I can get rid of, because it's funny that I used to have artist relations at Guitar Center, and it was before they got in trouble for what I'm about to tell you, which is there was Dave. I don't know if it's Weiderman or Weiderman, but Dave Weiderman is still, I think, might still be guest relations for Guitar Center. He had an assistant, and we would go there, and I would go and put down my XLR, and she would punch into the computer knows how much they paid for the XLR, but
Right.
the customer doesn't. Or I
Right.
mean the operator, whoever the person is. So in other words, if they paid $15 for that XLR, or $10 for that XLR, they don't the operator, the guest relations person doesn't know that. So what she would do is she would write this XLR, and then they would be like artist relations, and then it gives you you could put in your price. So she would write. So if it was $15, she would write $9, and it'd be like nope, and it'd be like $10. It'd be like nope, and it'd be like $11, and she'd be like, and then
yeah.
it'd be like
She'd slowly
$11. Like,
figure
yep,
out.
okay, so it's $11, and we just. So all my XLRs, my mic stands, I mean, a lot of my equipment was that. And they actually got, years and years ago, they got in trouble with Pro Tools, with Avid, because of that. Because the
Wow.
operators were figuring out that they could sell it, any Pro Tools gear for less than, for exactly what Guitar Center was getting it for. And Guitar
Yeah.
Center was getting it for $10 because they were buying so much of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I had the mic stands and XLRs and microphones, things that I got back in the day, 57s and those guys. I got them for so cheap that if someone needs one, I'm all about giving it away. Like that stuff it doesn't matter to me.
That's an amazing story. I could picture the operator like on those Guitar Center computers, just I don't know why all their computers have this sound in my brain, and like as they're just going through there.
Old school computer, the old school computer keyboards, basically.
Yeah, and it's got like the green. It's got like a black background and a green text. I remember that because you can kind of see their computer screen every once in a while, and they still have it that way. I think I haven't been to Guitar Center for a while, but maybe like a year ago was the last time I was there, and still same system.
Same
You're
setup.
just like, wow, all right,
The other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I'm such a Disney fanatic, I found online, I got into a rabbit hole probably the first week that we started this quarantine, but there's actually websites on YouTube that you can ride the rides virtually. Have you ever seen this?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've seen, well, I think I became aware of it because of the new Star Wars one, Rise of Sky. What is that where I'd call Resistance, Rise of the Resistance?
Rise of the
Have you been on
Resistance.
it? The new one?
Yeah.
Not the Millennium Falcon, but I haven't been
Yeah.
on it yet.
It-
But I watched the POV, and it just looked ridiculous. Absolutely.
it's-
Like the coolest ride ever made.
It's obviously so much better when you're actually on the ride.
Yeah.
But that POV that you're talking about, I've seen it a few times. There's actually one out there that's a 360.
Oh,
Like
cool.
the guy must have put something on the top of his head or something, so you can
I can't believe
actually.
I can't believe they let people do that.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but there was a site that I found that was all 360, so you could go.
Oh, cool.
So I was going on the Avatar ride out
You were.
in Disney World, where you can kind of
yeah.
search around. Well, what's it called? Animal Kingdom up there. A couple of rides that I haven't been to Disney World in a long time, but a couple of rides that I hadn't been on. I was like, okay, so I got into that rabbit hole, and then you get into
Okay.
the different. Then you can ride. Then there are people who take their phone, or usually it's a GoPro, and and they put it here or put it on their head, or however they do it, or maybe even like a stick of some sort, and they go through the whole ride. So I was like, oh man, I haven't been on Ariel in like forever, my mermaid ride. So
That's your ride, dude.
I'm going to go ride that really quick. And so I did that. And then, I just kind of got into a rabbit hole, which was cool. I mean, I enjoy, it's so funny that people ask me when I was talking about Frozen and Disney and working out, it's like, I'm not sick of any ride yet,
Yeah.
because even even if I go to, obviously I go to Little Mermaid consistently. That's like the first ride I ride, and I'll go to Guardians and Cars, and every once in a while we get that in our circle. We get that extra friend, like our mutual friend, who has a child who is like, hey, let's go Peter Pan's Flight and to Dumbo, and and we're on these rides that I've never been on before, or I haven't been on in a long time. So I don't mind doing those extra kind of rides. So I don't really get sick of it. And to me
neither.
To me, it basically, I feel it changes I find something new every time. That's my personal opinion, especially with the things that they're doing. They're ever changing. They're with Guardians. Not Guardians. The Galaxy's Edge is a whole new land now, and now they're doing the Marvel side over at DCA. So it's ever changing, and they're painting things and fixing things. So to me, it's still kind of, I don't know. I'll never get sick of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think and it's funny when you like mention people who like don't kind of get it, there's like I have some friends that like hate Disneyland. I'm like, why? Like, how do you hate Disneyland? Like, doesn't make sense to me. I grew up in Anaheim Hills actually. And I've had a pass pretty much not every year, but for at least more than half of my life, I've had a pass to Disneyland. And, going as an adult is almost more enjoyable as a kid, because now I know I could appreciate at Galaxy's Edge the fact that this guy wrapped this trash can in cement and then literally like distressed the cement, like busted holes in it, and then they painted it to make it look like it was in a battle, And I'm like now I can look at that and be like, that's incredible craftsmanship,
Yep.
And then you can go on these other rides and look at the, knowing more about the behind the scenes of things. It's funny, I did go recently on a rabbit hole of Disneyland too, but it was like behind like the true story of Pirates of the Caribbean, like how that got made, and then the true story of Haunted Mansion, and all these great iconic rides that I knew nothing about. So then I watched that and go back on the ride, a week later, and I'm just looking at everything again, like, what the heck, And Pirates of the Caribbean wasn't updated for like decades until recently with when they added the new Jack Sparrow stuff, which is kind of like, but I get it, why not? Like, that's a new generation. People, kids don't know anything older. They know Jack Sparrow. Pretty soon, kids aren't going to know Jack Sparrow.
No.
But
that rabbit hole brought me on to, I think, probably the same site that you went on to, where I found out that, because when you look at the buildings, they can't house that attraction. Like the Haunted Mansion is the one that I got onto, that is the rabbit hole I got into, they can't. It's a small building. You're on that ride for however long, 10 minutes. There's no way that has it. And what I found out is that you get into the stretching rooms, which are elevators.
And then you go down. They
go down, kind of underground, but not really. And then you actually walk underneath the train tracks for the actual train, and then the ride building is actually right there. And I was just, because I even with because Pirates and Indiana Jones is right next to each other, and when you do the aerial view, you can't tell, and to find out where that little building is, that queue is actually you walking so far, you don't realize. You're just like, oh wow, this is really cool, but then you're actually walking underneath the train tracks to get into another building where your ride actually starts. Yeah, that stuff to me is just
Dude, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's so entertaining, and I enjoy it so much.
It really is. It's so brilliant. Like, people, even like the trash, you probably saw this too, but like, the trash cans. Like, Walt Disney invented the trash can as we know it, where there's the flap that you push through to put your trash in. Did you hear about that and how it all came to be? So, well, I was just going to say, well, you already know this, but I'll say this for maybe people who don't, but Disneyland opened and he saw people dropping trash, and he's like, no, we got to keep this clean. So then he put trash cans everywhere, and he realized people will throw trash in a trash can if it's really close to them. But if it's further than 30 feet, I don't know how he figured that out. People are just going to throw it on the ground,
I've seen that documentary. It was, he sat at the one end of Main Street.
Right? Right.
And he watched how long it took, how many feet it took before someone would just give up and throw something on the ground, and it was 30 feet. And that's why every
that's
trash
it.
can is,
Okay.
his trash is 30 feet.
But then he was like, it was so cool because he's like, then they put the trash cans there and they're like, yeah, but now you could just see trash everywhere.
Right.
So then he's like, we got to figure out a way to hide the trash. And that's when he came up, his Imagineers actually came up, or whatever, if I recall. It was maybe a while back when I saw it, but then they came up with that flap, and ever since then, the whole world has taken on that design.
Right, and also
so interesting.
painting them to land too, because
Right.
the trash can on Main Street is painted differently than the one in Tomorrowland, and they're all kind of blend in because they look like part of the world itself or the land itself.
So smart. That's what I nerd out the most on that crap, man, because it's like, it's just that attention to detail and that excellence. And I actually mentioned a trash can earlier in Galaxy's Edge. It's just like every little detail is really well, and it's a clean place. As you've seen, we've probably seen all the same videos. Every day. And I knew this before, just from friends who worked at Disneyland. But they'll like hose down Main Street. Everything is clean. There's that third shift.
Yep.
And having lived in Santa Clarita for a while, we'd go to Six Flags. I think I still have a pass. I need to cancel my pass now that I think about it, to Six Flags. I hated going there. It was so dirty.
Yeah, no.
And all the rides were trash. Just, you could see how dirty they were. You could tell people didn't like being there. I think it's like, you have like Disneyland at the top, then you have like Universal Studios below, where people are like, I'm stoked to work here. Like, I like this. We care about this place. Enough people come for us to really be intentional about this.
Yeah.
And then like you got like kind of Knott's Berry Farm, and then we're at the bottom of the totem pole. You have Six Flags.
Yeah, right.
And it's painful because when you know how much goes into Disneyland, you're just like, you're spoiled.
Yeah. Did you watch? You have Disney TV, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you watch? They have an Imagineering series. Did you see that?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm interested. Is it good?
You have to see that. It's only I'm hoping that they make more. They've only made a certain amount of episodes, but it's really, really interesting because there are things like the basketball court on top of the Matterhorn that they show you how that came about. And it's been so long since I've seen it, but there was some really, really interesting, probably the same stuff that we've talked about, the trash cans and and those things. But yeah, it is really interesting.
Man, it'd be really cool to find something to work together on in the future. And
you're definitely on my line of composers, the phone book. You're definitely the top. I mean,
thank you.
There's two up there. There's one that I can't afford, who's above you, and then there's
that's your buddy. I know who that is.
Yeah.
I can't. That guy's great, man.
He's killing it.
That guy's so good. I love his work.
Yes. So usually he says no to me, and not saying that it's not cheaper pay. I'm still going to pay you what you're worth, which I feel that you're worth what he's getting paid right now. But yeah, so you're definitely on my list of composers that I will definitely call out to. So you're always on my mind. So especially when I go to Disney. But
yeah, I know. Just text me next time, and whenever it opens up in May.
I don't know when. I was trying recently, actually. A friend of mine works for Disney. Executive. He's an executive level, but he's in Orlando right now. He used to run Disneyland, and now he's moved out to Orlando. He actually opened either Paris or Tokyo or something many, many, many years ago. And he was out here for some conference. We ended up hanging out, and then the virus came through, and he was stuck here for a little while. And so I'm like, hey, so you know anybody over at Disneyland? And he's like, yeah, they're in the meetings, and we still, and I'm like, what's the chances of me getting in there right now? He's like, what? And I'm like, I just want to walk around there when there's no one there. Like, that would be, I would bring my camera. Oh my God, epic. Like, I don't know if they would really be happy about me walking into the attraction and seeing how everything works, but just to being able to walk through downtown Main, the Main Street or any of those things and just see nobody. I was just like, just an hour, just give me 1 hour. We'll just walk around, take a couple of pictures, and I'm out. I would just love to have seen that. But he ended up Disney ended up flying them in a private plane back to their places or whatever. So it didn't happen.
Private plane. Gosh, that would have been amazing. I can't even imagine that place empty. Even on when I'm at Disneyland and it's empty, there's still like so many people there. But I just know
Workers, yeah.
this is empty, And then what was it? I think it was the Galaxy's Edge. What holiday was it last year where they hit capacity by 10 a.m.? I'm trying to remember. It actually made news. Like Disneyland has hit capacity by 10 a.m. And I was just trying to think like how many times I've been there where it's so busy that you can barely walk anywhere and it's not at capacity. So I can only imagine at capacity, that place is a nightmare. Just, I never want to go. I would never be there. Like, what a waste of money.
And that's the thing too with the pass that I have. We both got not the plus, the one below it, signature, which you have blackout dates of the week of Thanksgiving, which I would never go.
Never.
And then the week of Christmas, or 2 weeks, prior to Christmas. Yeah. Which I would never go during Christmas every.
I know. Spring break even, and it's like you don't get to go weekends. It's like I never want to go weekends.
Yeah, no, I would never go on. I mean, we do our pass gives us Saturday and Sunday, but it's a rarity that I would go on a Saturday or Sunday. It's usually like a Tuesday or a Wednesday during the day kind of a thing, and just kind of go there, and it's usually not that busy off season. And getting back to the Christmas thing, Christmas goes through like January 7th. So, and they start it right after Halloween. I mean, right after Thanksgiving. So I'll get to see enough Christmas stuff, and and they start the Haunted Mansion, the Jack one. They start that one in Halloween anyway. So
Halloween.
Halloween, so that one runs right through Christmas too. So
here's a fun fact, real quick, about Christmas time. I used to work at the Melting Pot, and I was a waiter there.
Is that the one in Manhattan Beach?
They have a couple I don't even know if they're around anymore, but
okay.
It's like a nice couple-hour fondue restaurant, But I had this crew of 4 people sitting there celebrating. Like, what are you guys doing tonight? I go, we're celebrating, And so what are you guys celebrating? Like, oh, we just finished the tree at Disneyland. The 4 of us are on staff all year to make sure that tree and Main Street are decorated for Christmas. And they're on staff all year just to make sure that is executed like in one night, Yep. But I thought that was so interesting, and they're like, yeah, it's so much work, They manage, I think, the whole place too, like making sure it just gets done as well. But I guess the tree is just like their big, like, that's it. Like, that's the challenge. We pulled it off.
When I worked at Disney World in Orlando many, many years ago, I mean, you get paid, but you volunteered to do third shift, which is doing that. And I mean, it's just like, it's everything is, you walk into, like if you're doing, let's just say a restaurant or something, you get there at midnight or whenever the park closes, and there's a huge, a bunch of forklifts roll up with all these cases, and the cases are all marked and tells you where to do it. And then there's a diagram of where they go and how they're hung and all that. Yeah, no, I did it once, and I did it one season, and I wanted to do it. It's kind of like something that I wanted to do. But by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I'd kill myself if I had to do this every season. It's just so much.
Jeez,
and that's why they ask for volunteers. But they say, tonight we're doing, Main Street, and everyone is on Main Street for the whole. So in other words, not one land is not done or half done kind of a thing. That's how they did it at Disney World. I don't know how they do it at Disneyland, and I've noticed it. It seems like once you go in, the tree is up and everything on Main Street is done. And then the other lands slowly start coming to it. But yeah, no, at night, talk about being at capacity, especially Magic Kingdom in Orlando. There were more people there doing that with trucks driving by and dropping off, and they call not managers, they call them leads out there. And all these cast members were just everywhere. It was just mayhem, and everyone knew exactly what they were doing. It was crazy. It was just crazy.
That's bonkers. Amazing. Well, we'll have to go.
Yes.
Soon.
Well, definitely. As soon as this mess kind of goes away, we'll definitely have to do a Disneyland. But thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. It's definitely I was trying to find people that don't have time normally to come down, and people are like, yeah, no, I'm not coming out of my house. And so I kind of got onto this, and I'm like, this is perfect because they're sitting at their house anyways. They're doing whatever they're doing. We're well past the 6 feet of keeping a distance between us. So, but yeah, thank you very much for doing this. And then
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then let's definitely keep in touch and as things move forward.
All right.
And we do need to do Disney as soon as possible.
Sounds good. Well, have a good day, man, and
You too.
have a good month. We'll keep in touch, of course, through the month, but have a good month.
You too.
See the light, your eyes wide shut, they need advice. I don't need you to live my life, and when I go, don't be surprised. I just don't care to say goodbye. Put on my life, I tell no lies. I see the future every time.